Did you know that Israel's existence is fundamentally based on a lie? Or how about this one? Do you know who actually controls Israel? You might be asking yourself, what does any of this have to do with me? What I am about to share with you has profound implications for all of us. So it's essential that we learn the truth about modern Israel, how it was created, how it took over Palestine, and why the West supports it so strongly. Let's begin at the start. How did this whole thing even begin? Well, in the late 19th century, a guy named Theodor Herzl had a pretty big idea. He wanted to create his own country for Jewish people all around the world. And he chose Palestine as the place to make this dream come true. But here's the kicker. At the time, Palestine wasn't empty. It was already filled with lots of people. To be honest, it still is. I mean, it's got tens of millions of people living there today. They're called Palestinians, and they've been hanging out in that area for thousands of years. But Herzl and his followers didn't really care about that fact. They just wanted the land for themselves. They believed that God had promised this land to Jewish people way back in the day. And they called this idea Zionism. Basically, they wanted to go back to their roots and take back their holy land, even if it meant kicking out the people who were already living there. Herzl teamed up with some other folks who shared his dream, and together they started a political party called the World Zionist Organization. Their plan was simple: convince world leaders to give them a slice of Palestine where they could set up their very own country. And guess what? It worked. In 1947, the United Nations agreed to split Palestine into two separate states, one for Jewish people and one for Arab people. The Jewish leaders were over the moon, but the Arab leaders weren't too happy about it. They felt like the deal was unfair, because Jewish people would get a bigger and better piece of the pie. But hey, what do they know, right? The British were in charge of Palestine at the time, and they were totally on board with the idea of creating a Jewish state. After all, it was their plan all along. Yeah, seriously. The British had been planning to kick out the Palestinians and replace them with Jewish people for years. They even started bringing in Jewish immigrants, to Palestine in the early 1900s. And these immigrants started buying up huge chunks of land from the Palestinians. Now, I'm not saying this was totally fair or nice, but that's just how things went down. Anyway, when the UN announced their plan to split Palestine, things started getting pretty heated. There were protests, riots, and violence in the streets. It was total chaos. But in the end, the plan went through, and Israel was officially born on May 14th, 1948. The first thing Israel did was declare war on its neighbors. And let me tell you, they did not hold back. The Israeli army went on a rampage, attacking villages and killing people. The Palestinians were totally caught off guard. They could unbelieve that the Israelis would actually start a war instead of just peacefully sharing the land. But that's just how things went down. Now, I know you must be thinking, wow, that's messed up. But trust me, it gets worse. As the fighting continued, more and more Palestinians had to flee their homes and become refugees. They had no choice. It was either leave or get killed. And let me tell you, the Israelis weren't exactly welcoming those who stayed behind. They made their lives a living hell. For example, they cut off water and electricity to Palestinian cities and bombed hospitals and schools. It was a total nightmare. As all this was going on, the Palestinians were getting help from other countries like Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. But in the end, it wasn't enough. In 1949, the fighting stopped and Israel won. They had taken over all of Palestine and kicked out or killed most of the Palestinians. But the craziest part is that the world didn't seem to care. When the war was over, the United Nations held a meeting to figure out what to do next. They knew that thousands of Palestinians had become refugees and didn't know where to go. But guess what? They didn't care. They just let it happen. The UN should have stepped in and helped the Palestinians, but they didn't. Instead, they basically said, "Oh well, that's just too bad. So sad, but we're not going to do anything about it." In the following years, Israel kept expanding its borders and taking more land that belonged to the Palestinians. It was like they couldn't stop. But here's the real messed up part. When Israel took over these new lands, they also took away the rights of the people who live there. For example, Palestinians living in these areas couldn't vote or speak their minds. They couldn't even travel freely. It was like they were trapped in their own country. But wait, there's more. In 1967, Israel went to war again. They fought against Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, and won. This time, Israel took over even more land, including the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. They also took over the Golan Heights, which belonged to Syria. Now, I know this is starting to sound like a never-ending story, but trust me, it doesn't stop there. Since then, Israel has built settlements on Palestinian land. These are areas where Jewish people can live without being bothered by the Palestinians. It's like Israel is trying to carve out its own little piece of Palestine, where it can do whatever it wants without worrying about the Palestinians. But guess what? It's not working. The Palestinians aren't just sitting around waiting for it to end. They're fighting back against the Israeli occupation. They're protesting, throwing stones, and sometimes even using violence. Now, I'm not saying one side is right and the other is wrong. The truth is, both sides have suffered. Both Israelis and Palestinians have lost loved ones and had their lives turned upside down by this conflict. But let's be real, the Palestinians have had it way worse. They've been living under military rule for decades. Their economy is struggling, and they don't have the same rights as Israeli citizens. It's not fair. So why does the West keep supporting Israel? Well, there are a few reasons. First, they say it's because of religion. Many Christian groups believe that the return of the Jewish people to their ancestral lands is a necessary step towards the second coming of Christ. They think it's a sign that the end times are near. Second, they say it's because of politics. Israel is seen as an important ally for the West in the Middle East. Having Israel around helps keep other countries in the region in check. Plus, Israel is a great base for the West to spy on and attack other countries in the region. Lastly, they say it's because of money. Israel has a lot of it, and it uses that money to influence politicians and the media to get them on its side. It's like a never-ending cycle that keeps Israel safe and powerful. But let's be honest, it's not all about money and politics. There's also a bit of racism going on here. After the horrors of the Holocaust, the West felt guilty about not doing more to help the Jewish people. Creating Israel was seen as a way to make up for that, even if it meant taking land from another group of people. It's like they thought they could do whatever they wanted to the Palestinians because they owed it to the Jewish people. But let's be clear, it's not okay to treat people badly just because you feel guilty. As for the Palestinians, well, they've been stuck in this mess for too long. They've been living under Israeli military rule for over 50 years. Their economy is suffering and their basic rights are being taken away. It's not fair. So, what's the solution here? How can we end this conflict once and for all? Well, honestly, I don't know. I'm just a random dude on the internet. But here's what I think. Both sides need to sit down and talk. Israel needs to stop taking land and oppressing Palestinians. And the world needs to stop ignoring the problem and do something to help. It's not okay for millions of innocent people to suffer, while Israel keeps getting away with it. And hey, if you want to dig deeper into this crazy world of geopolitics, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to dive even deeper, check out the links in the description below. Who knows? Maybe together we can uncover the secrets of this crazy world and make it a better place for everyone.